There. So this afternoon we do the continuation. We are going to do the continuation of lesson 1 with clauses that function as adverbs or adverbial clauses. From the word adverb itself, we are done with the adjective. From the adverb term itself, we should remind ourselves that these clauses shall modify either verbs, adverbs, or verbs, adjectives, or other adverbs. And it should be in the structure of a clause. Last time, I emphasized the 3 important components for a clause to be called a clause. Again, what are those components? Can you mention them for us, Chloe?
We have the property, commutative property of addition. Now,
the 3 components, the 3 important conditions for a clause to be called a clause. What are those 3 again, Chloe?
Future age. So in 2 years' time,
that's one. Give me another one, Chloe.
Plus 20.
And then the third one is?
Which is equal to n plus 22. Whereas J.
What's the third one, Jeremiah?
N plus 2. So let me just change or eliminate this part.
Correct. There's a thought that should be complete or incomplete. A group of words, that group of words must have a subject and a predicate or a verb, and then there should be a thought which could be complete or incomplete. Since we are dealing with clauses that modify, we are now talking of dependent clauses. Adverbial clauses. I think last time I touched the use of because. And I pair that with because of. Did we do that? Because of is not a conjunction. It is a preposition compared to because, which is a mere conjunction. Here's what I'd like us to do regarding adverbial clauses. I'll give you, for this afternoon, before you do the checking here, I'll give you 2 sentences, and I'd like you to combine them by turning one clause into an adverbial clause. As reminded, that adverbial clause should begin with a subordinating conjunction. And since it's an adverbial clause, it should not modify a noun. It should not describe a noun. Here, let's have examples. Sentence 1. Sentence 1.
22 minus 4 is 18, and n minus 2 minus n is n. So
the man lost his balance. Sentence 2.
And the question is, how old are they now? And since n is equal to 18, so James at present is 18 years of age. And but
the man was attacked by someone. So there are 2 sentences here, and our goal is to combine them, put them together, such that one of these 2 sentences is going to be turned into an adverbial clause or an adverb clause. For you to succeed on that, you need to determine first the connection or the relationship between these 2 sentences. You need to identify first what's the connection between sentence 1 and sentence 2. Because by knowing that connection, you would be able to arrive at the right decision on what subordinating conjunction to use. By the way, will we use conjunctions like which, who, whose, whom in adverbial clauses? We won't. There is a list again of so many subordinating conjunctions that we could use on adverbial clauses. I have given a few of them in the module, so please be reminded of that. Examining sentences 1 and 2, we would actually be able to realize that one actually is a result of the other. One sentence happened first, one idea happened first, then came the next idea. So again, one is a result of the, as it turns out, one is a result of the other. Now, which between these 2 sentences happens to be the result? Raphael.
Barney's, and Fred is 4 years older than Barney, so Barney is 10, so Fred will
There
be
are two sentences in the chat box. Sentence 1 and sentence 2.
5 years ago.
By understanding these two sentences, you'd realize, you'd find out that there is a result. I mean, in these two sentences, one is actually a result of the other. Which sentence is that?
While Fred, 5
Correct.
years ago,
It is sentence 1, which means that sentence 2 is the cause or the reason on why sentence 1 happened or took place. With this knowledge, now comes your choice of a subordinating conjunction.
48.
What subordinating conjunction can we possibly use?
Fred is 10 minus 1,
Jonard,
and the past age of Barney is 10 minus 5. If added, it will result to 48.
because, yes, we can use because.
Continue.
And so, if you allow me for this sentence, I'll give the answer. Later on, I'll give you the chance to do the combination of two other sentences, of a set of sentences.
48.
We will arrive at one combined. That says, the man lost his balance because he was attacked by
Divide both sides by
someone.
2. So that here
You look at this combined form, combined sentence.
4 is divided by 2.
The man lost his balance because he. I did not anymore have to repeat the man, because we know that this pronoun he refers to the man. So I just have to state that as the man lost his balance because he was attacked by someone. In this sentence, what is our dependent clause? Wait, dependent clause. What is our dependent clause? I'd like to ask Kira.
Fred and Barney at present is 31 and 47
Kira?
respectively.
Again?
Proceed with number 6. John and
Correct.
Martha.
Correct.
John is 4 times as old as Martha.
A dependent clause must begin with a subordinating conjunction. Will I put a period after this dependent clause? I will not.
5 years
Because
ago
a
is
dependent clause
past
is not a
So 5
sentence.
years
It's
ago,
incomplete.
John will
It
be
remains to be one without any end mark. By the way, in the ST that I have made for you, words are intentionally done that way so as to not make the answer really obvious. So please do not be surprised. Sir, you said that there are rules on capitalization that we should observe. Why did you capitalize the first letter of these dependent clauses? Those are intentionally done.
is equal to
Because if I do it only for the independent clause, then you would know that one is right away independent and the other one is dependent. Just like when you look at FT2. If you look at FT2, which is for the goal of which is for you to determine dependent and independent clauses,
5 years.
there are independent clauses there. They are already sentences, but where they started with a capital letter, they were not. Are they ended with periods? They're not. Because if I ended them with a period, that would right away give the answer.
Is 4 and
Expect for something like that in your ST.
Martha is and
We go back to this example. Our dependent clause once again is because he was attacked by someone. How would we know that this one functions as an adverb? If a clause or if there's an expression that functions as an adverb, it works with the why, the how, the when, and the where. Like this of number 1 of this sentence. The man lost his balance.
16 is sum of
Why did the man lose his balance? See the question that we asked? Why did the man lose his balance?
the other side.
That kind of question can be answered only by an adverb and not by an adjective. Adjectives look into the what kind or the what type.
Tama.
The why, the when, the where, and the how, we give that to adverbs.
Martha is 12.
And so our answer is the dependent clause because he was attacked by someone.
4 times 12.
Let's have another pair of sentences.
48 years of age.
Sentence 1.
Proceed with
Sentence 2.
number 7. Then we have here number 8. We have here number 9. And number 10.
There. Sentence 1. My father came home late. And sentence 2. There was a party in their office. Let us try to combine these two sentences such that one clause becomes a
Okay.
dependent
Number
clause.
7.
Gabriel, would you like to
Can you
try?
share your solution there for number 7? Um, Elise.
Gabriel? No response. What about Leah Lynn? Leah Lynn? No response. Clara?
That means this is future. No.
Is it me or the girls in this class just do not respond as much as they're expected to? Is this the case? Like, students don't really respond in this class? I could see the reaction of Jeremiah.
The term
Jeremiah
there is
did this.
allow. This is the term algorithm.
Yeah, like I don't know because an English class is not supposed to be this kind of in this kind of setup that when you are told to speak, you won't speak. I mean, you should grab the chance. Joanna Ramona, your turn. Try to combine them. Turn one sentence into a dependent clause. Go.
Continue.
Correct. But wait, I just wrote there was party in their office. That's so embarrassing. Please put an article. Ha? It's supposed to be there was a party. There. Thank you for this answer. I'll just call you Will it be all right, Joanna, if I call you Ramona and not Ramona? Ramona. Okay, Ramona. Thank you for the permission. The answer, the combination given by Ramona to us, turned sentence number 2 into a dependent clause. And what did she use to start that dependent clause? We have the subordinating conjunction, since. So our dependent clause here, dependent clause, is since there was a party in their office. There. What's the relationship between the two sentences? One comes out again as a cause or a possible reason of why the other happened. But of course, there's still plenty of relationships available. It could be a contrast of ideas, it could be an addition, it could be a consequence. It so happened that my examples are just within this line of thought. Questions now regarding clauses that modify.
Okay, let's use
Any question?
answer of number 8.
Let's now proceed with the checking of FTs 1 and onwards.
Janaya, take it away.
I'll now close the chat box. Go. We begin with FT1, and the goal in FT1 is for us to determine whether the group of words is a clause or not. If it is, you write yes. If it is not, you write no. For the rise of the nation, Shamil. Let's examine, let's be reminded of the components for a clause to be called a clause. First, it has to be a group of words. Obviously, numbers 1 to 20 contain groups of words.
So, twice is not
Second requirement, in that group of words, there should be a subject and a predicate. By definition, what is again a predicate? It's a verb.
extra so, but
You can only call a noun a subject if it's together with a verb. Without a verb, you cannot call that noun a subject. It just remains to be a noun of a different function, but definitely not that of a subject. Let's examine number 1. For the rise of the nation. There are actually 2 nouns in this sentence. You have the word rise and the word nation. Can we see any verb that goes together with these two? We don't. Therefore, has this group of words met the standards for a clause to be called a clause? It has not. Thus, the answer for number one is no. Because of you. I mentioned last few days something about because of you. Because of signals the presence of a prepositional phrase. And a phrase is not a clause. That makes number two an item with a no as an answer. Number three, nothing to worry. Jeremiah. Correct. It doesn't have any verb. Sir, what about worry, sir? To worry. To worry is an infinitive. An infinitive is not a verb. It's a verbal. Number four, he is sick. Elijah.
Therefore, what will be our conclusion?
Let's classify this again in terms of its components. Is there a obviously it's a group of words. Is there a subject in this group of words? Jonard, is there a subject in this group of words?
Though you had a mistake committed,
what is the subject, Jonard?
to formulate the age of Jack.
Correct. And for us to say that a word comes out as a subject, it should be paired with a verb. Now the question is, what is the verb in this group of words? AC. In number 4, what is our verb?
Because I believe when you start this with a wrong notation,
hello, AC?
The answer is wrong. Although, even if you are doing it right, but you already have the algorithm.
Lian or Liam, any from the two of you, what is the verb in number 4?
So, naturally, it will follow.
Again, sorry?
So, I think that is something that you need to.
I did not hear that right. Sorry, what was it again?
Make sure that the algorithm, the expressions to present the ages is
Lian or Liam, anyone from the two of you who could answer?
Items or the problems given. Thank you for that one, Chinaya. I think that is an impromptu solution.
No response. I'll call Mikaela. What is our verb in number 4?
Let's proceed with number 9. This time,
sorry, louder please, louder.
To share her answer. Ms. Mayor, take it away.
Is correct. And so we have a subject, we have a verb, therefore it is a clause. So the answer, Elijah, is actually a yes. Wait, AC cannot unmute herself. You can, you actually can. You have the ability to unmute yourself given that you have control of over your audio. I mean, you actually could unmute yourself, supposedly. Number 5, since you are not around, it's a clause. 6, when I am ready, that's a clause. 7, this is it, that's a clause. Hold it there. I'd like to remind everybody that number 8 is an example of an imperative sentence. Imperative sentences tell you of commands or requests. This one is a command. As a command is a form of a sentence, it bears an implied you. There's an absent you, but there's obviously a reference to the you there because that sentence is telling you to do something. So we have a subject, and the subject is the pronoun you. And we have a verb, and that verb is hold, which means number 8 is a sample of a clause. Number 9, in the cavern, prepositional phrase, no. In the canyon, prepositional phrase, not a clause. Excavating for a mine, it could either be a gerund phrase or a present participial phrase. Whatever it may be, it's not a clause. My life changed, that's a clause. Life is the subject, changed is the verb. So that I can go. I is the subject, can go is the verb. Yes. So easy, not a clause. Where life goes without a trace, yes. Therefore you should go, yes. Bringing not a soul, no. By the
What is the
people?
age of the
No.
4 years
As
old?
young as the dog? No. Even if I am here?
What
Yes.
is the age of
For a
Mary
perfect
4 years
20 in
ago?
FT1. Who got a perfect 20? Jeremiah, who
To
else?
simplify that, it will be equal
If
to
there's an item in FT1 where you got confused, I think it's good that they put that into a discussion.
28
Anybody who
minus
got
6.
confused for an item in FT1?
Subtract 32 and 4.
Most definitely, I'm referring to the ones who got an error in
So,
FT1.
continue with the algorithm.
But if no one's going to
Now,
raise anything, I'll proceed to FT2 now.
and the algorithm will be
FT2. The goal now for FT2 is we classify each clause, all of them are clauses, we classify each of them to be either dependent or independent. What do we do if it's a dependent clause? You write DEP. If it's independent, you write IND. As instructed, you are to write the first three letters only, and you are to set them in uppercase. By the way, I'm really particular with instructions. So, in relation to the ST that you'll take on Monday, please do not. There's a part in the ST where you are to pick out the dependent clause in a sentence. Do not add any extra space or extra character, because if you do, Edmodo will mark your answer wrong. So what would I suggest instead? If you're using a computer with a mouse, or you could use the mouse pad of your laptop, you highlight what just needs to be highlighted, and then you copy and paste it, and you copy it and you paste it on the space for the answer. That would minimize the chances of making errors. But you just need to make sure that you have only selected the correct set of characters. You did not include any extra space, nor did you include any punctuation mark. Because again, these are dependent clauses. They are not meant to be ended with any punctuation mark. Let's do number one, FT2. Again, it's really intentional that the independent clauses here are not placed with any period.
what is 56 plus 4?
I have nothing to say to you, independent.
16
Because you are
and
not ready to leave early, dependent. This is actually quite easy because your signal is just your subordinating conjunction.
repeat the answer
If
is
that group
5.
of words begins with a subordinating conjunction, automatic, that's a dependent clause.
Next, and 16 and
3.
23.
Shall we answer the call independent? That's in fact in the form of a question. It is not that easy, independent.
Okay, so
Since
then
you are
we
young,
will
dependent.
missing from the
That
bottom.
we should serve them,
What
dependent.
will be our final
When he
answer?
says so, dependent.
Find their ages
He truly admitted it,
Yes.
independent. Where there is no one alive, dependent.
And
When you know, dependent.
there is
What your values are, dependent. He is not aware of it, independent. The books are burned to ash, independent. I have lost a paper clip, independent. Then you are dependent. If the rain falls today, dependent. As long as you are not guilty, dependent. Reading is fun, independent. Unless you challenge me, dependent. The walls are painted red, independent. For a total of 20 points again for FT2.
John and Mary.
I hope many got a perfect score in FT2.
You for the answer. By the way, I noticed that
Let's
your
do FT3 now.
answers
In
are
FT3, you are to underline the subordinating conjunction, the subordinate clause or the dependent clause, and then you are to encircle the subordinating conjunction. However, if the sentence turns out not to have any
because I
subordinate clause, you are to leave the sentence as it is. Sir, how many points will you obtain in FT3? 1 point only for every number. Meaning, if you commit an error in the underlining, automatically you will not earn a point. Sir, what if I underlined the correct set of words but I encircled a wrong word? You will not earn a point. They should go together for you to earn a point in each of the numbers in
Please take
FT3.
note
Let us
of
start with
this,
number 1.
our
I am so tired today because of the
assignment.
project assigned to
Yeah.
us.
Please take note of those who are
What's the
absent.
dependent clause? There's none.
Okay.
FT3 number 1 has no dependent clause because, again, because of is not a conjunction. It is a preposition. Number 2, there was no trace of success in the eyes of the girls since they experienced many failures in the event. Dependent clause,
Show everyone
since
that
they
the class
experienced many failures in the event.
participants attendance
Encircle
here and the
since.
names of the participants. So from there, you can note the
Let's
present.
do number 3. I'll just mention the dependent clauses right away
Two more.
and the words to be encircled. Number 3, as I am running out of sentences,
Continue this with
encircle as.
able around.
Number 4,
Okay,
who were
able.
gathered in the mall,
Number 10, able.
encircle who. 5, that they might not have a ride going home, encircle that.
Okay, present. So
6,
we have
since
56,
I am assigned to be the leader, encircle since.
and then Sunday.
7, even if the presentation of the topic was simple and comprehensive, encircle even if. Not just even, not just if.
Okay,
It should be the complete expression, even if.
continue.
Number 8, though I have nothing else to do, encircle though.
Okay, so continue. So
Next,
that 52 is
who is discussing thoroughly the causes of pollution, encircle who.
correct.
Number
Let's
10,
proceed with
as we were about to leave the portals of our school, encircle as. Number 11, which will be attended by my close friends, encircle which.
So before we continue, that is taken from the phrase.
Number 12, while my friend's face is enough to do that, encircle while.
Yes.
13, while we were trying to take down notes, encircle again the word while. 14, although no one was fully prepared for the war, and you encircle although.
On the right side, we have 3 times.
Number 15, last number, after he decided to leave his job, and you encircle after.
And then
15/15 for FT3.
very good. Continue.
FT4. The goal in FT4 is to turn the words inside the parenthesis a part of an adjective clause.
Okay.
With an adjective clause, again, we make use of relative conjunctions. Who, which, that, whom, whose, when, and where could also be used. For number 1, she worked for a man who used to be an athlete. Sir, what if I didn't end it with a period? What if my sentence doesn't have a period? All sentences have end marks. If you don't have an end mark, a correct end mark, your sentence won't earn any point at all. Number 2, they called a lawyer who lived nearby.
So that is
3, I sent an email to my brother who lives in Australia.
we have negative 64 over negative 4. Continue.
The customer liked the waitress who was very friendly.
Negative, positive.
We broke the computer which belonged to my father. By the way, did you also use that?
Negative results to a positive value.
That may work.
Now let's proceed with your conclusion, Adrian. The question, by the
I
way,
dropped a glass that was new, which was new. But of course, you will not use who because we use who for persons. She loves books
and
that have happy endings, which have a happy endings. They live in a city which is in the north of England. That is in the north of England.
problems. And since the sum of the ages is 56, so
Take note, when we insert clause modifiers or any modifier, we do not want them to be misplaced.
subtract it to
Just because you might notice that in numbers 1 to 9, numbers 1 to 8,
and substitute that
Our adjective clauses are all found at the last part because that's where their head words are also located. In number 9, that's not anymore going to be the case. In number 9, the man who is wearing a blue jumper is in the garden. Again, it's the man who is wearing a blue jumper is in the garden. You will not say the man is in the garden who is wearing a blue jumper. Because if you put it that way, it's as if it's the garden that was wearing a blue jumper, making the modifier a misplaced modifier. Again, we don't want that. Number 10. The girl who is from India works in a bank. Number 11. My sister who lives in Australia has 3 children. 12. The waiter was rude. The waiter who was wearing a blue shirt was rude. 13. The money which belongs to John is in the kitchen. Number 14. The table that was my grandmother's got broken. 15. The television which was bought 20 years ago was stolen. 15 points, FT4. Let's do FT5, which is similar to what we had this afternoon regarding adverb clauses. Number 1, what we are supposed to do here is to turn one clause into an adverbial clause. The house was on fire, the girls forgot to turn the burner off. You can say, the house was on fire because the girls forgot to turn the burner off. Or you can do it in the reverse way. Like, because the girls forgot to turn the burner off, comma, the house was on fire. You can also use since in lieu of because. The students started to rejoice since it started to rain. Because it started to rain. Since it started to rain, the students started to rejoice. 13. I will secure this area from any possible attack. This area is the most crucial location. I will secure this area from any possible attack because this area is the most crucial location. If you have a different answer, call my attention. And then we'll see what we can do with that answer. For number 4, these soldiers insisted to join in the battle. These soldiers insisted to join in the battle even if they have no choice of winning. Or these soldiers insisted to join in the battle although they have no chance of winning. Even though there's no chance of winning, they have no chance of winning, the soldiers insisted to join the battle. Number 5, they wanted to express their apology even if the woman was hesitant to accept it. Although the woman was hesitant to accept it.
4 years ago, the China plate was 3 times the age of the glass plate.
Questions?
Therefore, 4 years ago,
he was so worried because something happened to his comrades, or because something happened to his comrades, he was so worried.
This is our algorithm.
As he is about to meet his death, he wants to see the nicest view of the village. He wants to see the nicest view of the village since he is about to meet his death.
Learn in this kind of a situation where we are involving 2 variables, we need to have 2 equations.
The master of the house has already gotten mad because it is already too late. They need to give our friend back because our friend needs much of our support. As for number 10, I hope you didn't put it as I can end your life right now because I can end your life. There's one dramatic way to do that. I could end your life right now because I can. Period. I could end your life right now since I can. Period. You don't have to repeat the your life or end your life. Questions regarding the FTs, questions regarding your answers. Please.
C plus G
Any question?
minus C minus 3G.
Any question, people? Any question?
Ang dami equals.
I don't know. Yes, Jonard, go.
Okay. Let me stop you from there because I think you are out of. Yeah.
Correct. When may also
So,
do.
look at this in our class. Kinesia, mo siya ang simplified form ni algorithm of the second sentence.
Other questions, other concerns.
Though I
By the
believe
way,
others are
the conjunctions I used earlier, for the conjunctions that I used earlier, let us not be limited to those. There are still again plenty of subordinating conjunctions available.
First algorithm for a while. Let me transpose C on the other side.
That is why I'd like to request you to ask anything, to do some clarification of your answer if you're unsure.
Is equal to 16 minus C, tama?
Is it me or there are just so many quiet students in this class?
So let me use
Is this the kind of setup?
and substitute the
Or is this really the kind of setup even in your other subjects?
second equation. Mangyari, so the second
Since
equation
last year,
minus 3G is equal to negative 8.
but I'd like to remind everyone,
Ito si G.
this is an English subject and everyone is expected to communicate.
Minus C.
At some point, you have to, because that's a requirement in every English course, in every English subject. If you say, sir, but I'm afraid, put that fear somewhere else. There's nothing to be afraid of when you speak in front of people.
In your
Sir, I'm shy.
mathematics, we call this
You have already been bringing that face for so many years already. You don't need to be shy of anything. The world has already gotten used to seeing that face of yours.
you can even use it.
Sir, what if my answer is wrong? You will not learn if you will not tell us of what that wrong answer is. You will not be told whether that's wrong or not if you do not speak up.
So we now come up with a second algorithm.
Like that, oh, when Jonard asked earlier, sir, what if in my number 2 I used when? Jonard would not have any idea whether when is acceptable or not if he had not spoken up. So you need to speak up for you to be told whether your answer is correct or incorrect. And if it turns out to be incorrect, there's nothing to worry about. Because for every mistake that we make, we're expected to learn than to just not say anything at all. That's what we teachers are afraid of. If students do not say anything, you cannot actually blame us if we assume that things are understood and are just fine. But when it comes to exams and your scores are not good, then I think the issue is, why did you not raise any question while there was an opportunity for you to do so? Sir, I'm afraid, sir, of what my classmates will say. Do not mind what your classmates will think, because we're after of what you can learn, what you yourself can learn. Once again, are there questions? Do we have some questions? Is there a part in the discussion which you found confusing, unclear? Please call my attention and inform me. How do you find the idea of putting some notes in the chat box? I hope that's all right.
It's equal to 10. Tama? So
If there are no questions, if there are no concerns, because I could see that no one's asking anything else, we can already call it a day. And from there, goodbye and thank you, grade 8. Reminding you once again, your ST on Monday for this subject is at 9:45 to 10:45. It's not at 9:30, it is at 9:45 because it's the third subject, yes. 9:45 to 10:45. Goodbye and thank you, grade 8.